And so for me, it was sort of, when Mark Lee was the first SEAL that got killed, he was one of my guys, he was an incredible person. When he got killed, like there was no training for that. And there was, and I didn't really know what to do. And so for me, it was like, okay, we're going to mourn. We're going to take a couple days off. We're going to mourn. And then, and I told my guys, I'm like, look, the only thing I know how to do is work. This is the only thing I know how to do. Cause I was in the SEAL teams my whole adult life. I don't even know what else there is. I was like, the only thing I know how to do is work, and that's what I'm going to do, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to go back to work like Mark would want us to do. We're going to lock and load our guns, and we're going to get out there and we're going to do our missions. And that's what we did. And again, I know it might sound callous, and even saying it right now, when like Mark, here's a guy that was, he was an absolute, just a warrior of a human, but he was also a hysterical guy. He was a maniac guy. He was he was married. He had a beautiful wife, and he was a real person. And I always try and remind everyone that these warriors, these so-called warriors, these soldiers, these Marines, these SEALs, these special operations guys, that everyone thinks they're these warriors and that they're just warriors, that there's a whole nother side to these guys. And they're usually just awesome people that happen to have wanted to do something heroic with their lives, and they step into the fray. And so for me to say, oh, we're just going to move on again, it's not like, hey, we're going to forget about this guy, but the contrary is we're always going to remember him, and the way we're going to remember him is by doing our job and doing the best we can in the life that we do have. And
moving forward, not dwelling. Man, it's so funny. I get stuck a lot of times sometimes. I definitely notice that. Like, I'm sober, right? So, I've been sober for about 2 years, and one of the things that they taught me in the beginning was just to take the next right action. Like, no matter what's going on, like, no matter what you're thinking, especially because the devil can really live in your head, just to take that next, just do whatever you have to do next, whatever's on your to-do list, do that next thing, and by the time you get to even the next thing, you're not thinking about this. Now you're in motion, and an object in motion stays in motion, and then you usually start to slowly piece your life together in positive ways. And then you get to the end of the day one day, and you're like, holy shit, I did 5 things today. And then you literally, and I remember that next day, I woke up a different person, because for so long I'd just been dwelling in this, in my own fears and my, just sitting in my uncertainties and just juggling like my deficiencies, and just keeping so much of the negativity kind of afloat, or just the uncertainty afloat. And all I had to do was just really physically take action, and the rest of me would kind of follow. It's amazing how your brain, even though your brain makes the decisions, your brain will follow your body sometimes.
Yeah, the two are definitely connected. There's no doubt about it. And I always tell people, and you were talking about Tim Ferriss, when Tim Ferriss was on my podcast, and we were talking about, he went through some serious depression. He went through contemplating suicide and planning suicide.
Wow.
For himself. And this is the guy that was at Princeton University at the time. It wasn't like he was not doing well in life.
Right.
I mean, he was on a great path. And so one of the things that he said is when it's something along the lines of, when you can't get out of your head, get into your body. But it was like, go and do something physical. And so that's why I always tell people to, hey, if you're feeling whatever, not great, go and do something. Go and work out. Go for a run. Go for a swim. Go do something, and do some physical exertion, because it lets your mind just kind of turn off and stop juggling all those insecurities that you were just talking about, because it's got to juggle kettlebells or something else instead.
Yeah, it lets your mind take a break. What kind of, like, say if you're going to do something, because I feel like you don't probably even, I feel like you sleep kind of, but like you're just, like you're also leg pressing while you're at rest. What kind of thing do you play with? Like, I feel like you have, like, is there I don't want to say a game, because I don't want to seem offensive, but is there a board game or something that you enjoy? Is there, like Stonehenge? Like, what do you fucking play with for fun, I feel like?
Isn't Stonehenge, like, what's Stonehenge?
It's just huge pieces of rocks.
No, I know what that is, but I don't go like play with Stonehenge.
Well, if I had to picture you like kind of playing with something in the yard, I feel like it would be like doing
maybe have the small Stonehenge like they had in Spinal Tap.
Jocko's baby Stonehenge.
Yeah.
I could totally see you.
Does jiu-jitsu count?
Yeah, jiu-jitsu does count.
Jiu-jitsu is definitely a place where you can turn your brain off. You can do it all the time. All you need is a training partner and some mats, and there's it's great right now because there's plenty of places to train in
Yeah.
America. But yeah, jiu-jitsu is awesome to do.
Have you had Eddie Bravo come on your podcast yet?
I have not had Eddie Bravo come on
Yeah.
my podcast yet.
That would be super interesting to see.
That would be fascinating.
It would be way fascinating.
I don't know if you know anything about Eddie Bravo.
No, I totally, I
Yeah,
mean, you know,
Obviously in the jiu-jitsu.
yeah, in the jiu-jitsu world, but yeah, I mean, I know him because of Joe Rogan, and I actually know him. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, because he's an old school jiu-jitsu player. Him and I were coming up around the same time, competing at the same old school jiu-jitsu tournaments back in the day,
Right.
And so, yeah, and you know, he's always been awesome and
Yeah.
really cool to me.
I would love to see you. You might need special forces to get him to quiet down. Sometimes he gets a little chatty, but in a beautiful way. Though I never met a man who's full of. I mean, most people have 9 pints of blood or something. I bet he's running on 11. Like that guy definitely something else is in him. You know, he's a special guy. So for a guy like who's not, you know, a lot of guys feel regret, and I notice in my life that I feel regret, like I never served my country. Right? It's a thing they play. You know, that kind of I think. At the core of a man somewhere, it plagues us, you know? And it's almost, you feel ashamed to bring it up because you don't want to use it as like a pawn, like whenever somebody has served, and it, you know, to try and equate to that, like, oh, well, I feel bad I didn't serve, you know? But do you find that a way that, you know, men at my age, I'm 38, or that at, you know, her kind of regularly statured physically, that a way that they can start to toughen themselves up. Jiu-jitsu seems like a way that a lot of men are finding, like, not only ways to feel tough about themselves and feel some self-confidence, but to find like a brotherhood in a way.
Yeah, no, jiu-jitsu is a great way. The funny thing is you just mentioned like jiu-jitsu makes you feel tougher. Well, actually, jiu-jitsu makes you feel humble, especially when you start, because you're just going to get choked out. You're going to get tapped out by people that are way
awesome.
smaller than you,
That's awesome,
and by females that are smaller than
come
you,
on.
and that stings. You know, that
Yeah.
stings. And so jiu-jitsu is real humbling in the beginning, and that's just something you gotta get through. But yeah, you'll meet people when you train hard with people. You become closer with them. That's kind of what happens in the military. That's the general concept of what occurs in the military. You take a bunch of people that don't know each other. They're all different. You start putting them through hard training, and they start to form a bond. And that's what the military is. That's why you end up with a bond. And that bond, the more hard stuff you do, the tighter that bond gets. So when you go to war with guys, that bond gets even tighter. When you go to really hard sustained combat, that bond gets even tighter. And so is jiu-jitsu something that is hard training, and it's humbling, because guess what? In war, you make mistakes too, and everyone sees them. And so that's what happens in jiu-jitsu. You make mistakes, everyone sees them. You get tapped out. There's no question about it. Like, there's no mystery in jiu-jitsu. You got tapped out by this guy. That's it. That's the way it works. And that means that guy just beat you, and there's no question about it. In combat, the same thing happens. You make mistakes, your element gets surprised, you get ambushed, you get the enemy maneuvers on you in a way you didn't expect. It catches you off guard. It's like, yeah, that's really humbling. And so there are elements of combat that are present in jiu-jitsu, and that's one of the reasons why I love jiu-jitsu so much.
Yeah. Because now, do you find that over time, having served, running gyms, jiu-jitsu, what is it that is it combat that you love? Is it competition? Have you been able to kind of pinpoint like what that thing is, sort of?
Yeah, I would say there's like a whole bunch of different little levels of what I like. I like competition. Mm-hmm. I like winning, and oddly enough, I like losing. Like, I like getting pushed to a point where, hey man, I couldn't do it. And that doesn't, this is a weird thing that happens with jiu-jitsu. You take someone that's never done jiu-jitsu before,
yeah,
and you say, hey, come and train. And they try it, and they're going to get crushed. And there's two reactions you can have to that as a person, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I guess there's more than two, but there's two main ones that occur. Some people say, damn, that was awesome. I can't believe that I got tapped out by a 130-pound female.
Right.
I'm going to go back and learn this stuff. And some people say, I can't believe I got tapped out by a 130-pound female. I'm never going to get near that again because it hurts their ego too much. So that's pretty much, for me, it was immediately, hey, I want to make sure that this doesn't ever happen to me, or that this happens as little as possible. So I'm going to learn as much as I can. And it's the same thing with, combat. Like, you want to learn and you want to be as proficient as possible. And really, I think that's the way you should be with life, is like, I'm going to do as much as I can, as often as I can, and learn as much as I can, and get the most out of this little gig we got here for however many years you got. Let's make something happen.
Do you miss war? You miss it? Do you miss battle?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like you miss, when you think about missing it, is it
Here's the thing.
is it the camaraderie? What is it?
It's definitely the camaraderie, but imagine that you, Theo, had something going on in your life that required every ounce of energy and focus that you could possibly muster. It required all of that. It required all that focus, and the consequence of you failing to give everything you got, the consequence of that would be possibly your death and the death of your friends. So you can't create that kind of focus any other way. I mean,
Right.
I just don't know. So when you're in that and you get to feel that, and then you get the reward of knowing that you've done your duty and you've done the best that you can, you walk off the battlefield and you gave everything you got, then you definitely miss it. Yeah.
Do you find there are moments, and I can fathom that as you're saying that, like almost as crazy as it sounds, I almost feel like how amazing that would be to have nothing else bothering you.
Nothing.
Except the value of your own life and the value of somebody else's life.
The value of your friends is the biggest value. That's the biggest thing that I was always concerned about. I was like, my guys, concerned about my guys. Yeah. It took me about a month, maybe 2 months after I got home, that when I woke up and I would be like, for a couple of seconds, you're thinking, because